Right, so what I want to share with you is I'm modifying my cluster, and been trying to work out um, different ways to go about it. And I've taken the challenge of removing the paint from the opposite side, and installed a few lights and so forth. So just to get an idea there, I'll just turn it up, and that's at 14 volt. That's pretty much how bright it'll be in the van. So that's I know the camera's not really showing colours too well, but I can clearly see that that's red there and so forth. The camera shows everything is orange. Well, on the screen it does. Anyway, so I wanted to show you on the inside what I've done, and I thought I'd start off with everything, well, most of the things on, so it's easier to take things off with one hand than it is to put it on. So we'll get these needles off without trying to break anything. Okay, I don't have anything screwed down. Just ignore this bit that's broken, but I've got a spare one up there, right here. So that's the one I'm going to be using. That's the last on the list. So we'll take this sticker off, and we'll look on the inside here. What I've done, I've got LED strip inside there. You can see LED strip down the bottom, and I've added an additional light as a standard light. See, my problem was what I did to the sticker. Well, that's not the problem, but what I did to the sticker was I've taken all the paint there off, so I get the whole gauge clear, brighter, and when it was back on I had a dark area here. So what I used to get that off was acetone, and just to be careful, word of advice, I got one spot here which is the hazard light, and got a bit of acetone on that hazard light there, and it actually takes the colours off those sections there too. So it doesn't hurt the plastic, but it does take everything else off. So just be careful if you plan on doing something like this. Just be careful not to get the acetone on anything else except for the areas that you want, because once it's touched, that's it. You have to just keep cleaning. So we'll get this off. Give us a bit of a look. Now, I got this idea from a different thing I saw on the web, and what the bloke did was he removed all the lights and he made holes everywhere, like in circles and so forth, and installed LED lights. Now, my success with LED lights hasn't been that great. I would generally find LEDs after about 6 months start to flicker when they fail, and that's just a pain in the bum. Especially if you're doing something like this, you don't want to go back in there, hopefully never again. So keeping that in mind, I thought I'd go for the LEDs to get a bit brighter, and I thought about adding this additional light up here after I'd already put the LEDs in. The LEDs in have got sticky tape, or not, I won't say sticky tape. They got an adhesive other side to them so they can stick down. And on top of that, I've got in spots like over there in the middle and up the side there, I've put what you call iridite, which is an epoxy glue, and so everything works well. I've got a 5 ohm resistance on the LEDs, so when I dim down, they'll actually dim off before the standard lights will. Like so. You see how they go off when the standards are still on. That gives me additional, just gives me additional backlighting. But if the LEDs fail, what I've come up with, what I've done is I've put mirrors everywhere. And all these little mirrors, instead of having a whole bunch of lights, I'm just using the power of the current lights to reflect to additional places. And so I got a mirror on the back there as well. So all these mirrors are giving me additional light as well, so I don't have to worry about the installing a whole bunch of LEDs. And with these here, the reason why I've got one on both sides here is to give more light to the plastic here that gives light to the needle. I've got two here for the same purpose, and I've got one here and one up here pointing roughly towards each other. I didn't do exact directional facing of the mirrors, but pretty much in the distance of it's going to come back to that plastic to give more light to the needle, so the needle glows more. I've got mirrors here, 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 there. I've got a big mirror at the back there, because this is the area where I had the dark spot. So that's what I've done. That's how I've come up with it. If these LEDs ever start flickering, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to forget the LEDs and just stay with the standard lights. That gives me the option to being able to change lights. If say one of these blow, I can change the light. This one here is also on a 5 ohm resistance. You notice it's a little bit dimmer than the rest of them. If I turn this right up, you can see how it's not as bright as the others, but it does light up. That's always going to have probably about 1 volt, maybe 2 volt less than the other lights, so that should prolong the life of that one that I can't change without opening the cluster up. But at the end of the day, if that fails and the LEDs fail, oops, I've still got the 3 additional ones with the mirrors reflecting light everywhere, and that should be plenty. I've just probably got too much now, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. So just on the Facebook channel, I was asked what did I do. So this is also to post on there to show the gang what I've done. I'll post a lot of other things on the Facebook channel as well that I don't actually put on YouTube. What else is there to show you? It's nothing. I've got the wiring, going up through here and down through the back there, and to trying to not make it too messy at the back. Just get this out of the way because that just makes it look messy. So that's all I've done there. Cons and pros, I guess. If I had done this with the lights first, I probably wouldn't have done that. If I just put that additional light in up there and the mirrors everywhere to make it brighter, I probably wouldn't have worried about doing that. But you don't know these things until you've done it. I've posted on the YouTube channel already, but I might as well here. These globes 22mm long in size, the standard globes. Now any of these type of LEDs, and I'll grab a few of them. These LEDs you do not want to put in this cluster. I've got one more hanging about somewhere. There she is. You don't want these in the cluster because they're too long. This plastic here, this one's still okay. My original one that I've thrown out was burnt, and I didn't know that until I pulled it apart and saw it. But this one here's been damaged as well. What happens is the light pushes up right here. So because it's supposed to sit back about here, but because these are so much longer, they sit about here. And even though everything looks good, over a period of time, probably in summer more so, this one will sit further, even more further down. Probably more so in summer when it gets really hot. The plastic in here darkens and melts a little bit. It's not a fire hazard. Well, I didn't have a fire, but that's the damage you're doing. And the original ones sit probably about 5mm clearance from that plastic. Maybe even more. I'd say probably even closer to 10mm clearance. But with these guys here, you're not just, it's not just that section that is poking through, it's that's poking through, and that's what pushes it so far in. So from the bottom here, it has been no more than, including this, I'll call it a bum, including the bum, you don't want it to get any more than 22mm long, so probably about yay long. Any more than that and the LED light's too long. What else is there? Don't want to miss anything. I guess I've pretty much shown you all, so I'll just put this back on. Tomorrow I'll bolt this cluster all back together, put all the gauges back in, and I'll more than likely post a finished video on the YouTube channel, because it'll only be like to show you what it looks like at the end. And that's about it. So if any of you get this same sort of idea, I wouldn't modify this part here. I wouldn't do that. I would do that, but I wouldn't do that. But once you've gone so far into it, there's no going back. So we're going to have to live with it. But like I said, it's nothing bad to live with. It just would have been the part that gets me on this, if you can see it, and I'll learn to ignore it. Stay still. I'll just lay down. See the shadow effect in there? That there is caused by this. Now, oops. With the lights like that, that actually gets rid of the shadow effect. That's without that plastic, everything actually looks pretty good. I might investigate that a little bit more tomorrow. So that'll do. You're probably noticing that you can see lights shining up behind and so forth. It does have the padding on it to block out external light and so forth, but unless it's bolted down properly or screwed down properly, it doesn't block out the side lights. And that's pretty much it, eh? Alright guys, well thanks for watching. I probably dragged on a little bit, but for anybody that's looking into modifying their cluster, this is good information. So yeah, next time. Cheers guys.